What if I told you that your thoughts are not creating your reality because they were never supposed to? What if I told you that the mind is not the projector, but the echo? What if I told you that no matter how high you try to think, your life keeps folding into the same painful patterns because the real script is written somewhere else? You've been taught to think positive, repeat affirmations, visualize your dream life on loop, but your life isn't shaped by what you think. It's shaped by what you believe you're allowed to feel, and most people are still terrified of feeling joy, terrified of stillness, terrified of worth, because their system has only ever known chaos, and their body calls that chaos home. It's not that you're failing, it's that your nervous system is winning, and it's doing its job perfectly. It's keeping you aligned with the version of life that feels most familiar, not the one you desire, but the one you were trained to survive in. This is the hidden lie of thought-based manifestation, that you can think your way into abundance, that you can mask your wounds with mantras, that you can perform high frequency while your body still lives in the shadow. Imagine trying to fly a kite with strings tied to the ground every time you catch wind, every time you rise. An invisible tension yanks you back down and you blame the wind or the kite or your timing, but never the tethers. And that's the trap. You try harder, you affirm louder, you visualize longer, but your field keeps looping the same heartbreak, the same fear, the same not enough, because your emotional code has not changed. And that emotional code is not written by your thoughts, it's written by your past. It's written by the moments you flinched and no one noticed, by the times you cried and they told you to toughen up, by the years you learned love means earning it, and joy means it might be taken soon. These imprints are not just memories, they're anchors, and the quantum field reads those anchors like coordinates, and no matter how much you ask for something new, you keep manifesting what you've already lived, because that's where your signal lives, in the pain you normalized, in the safety you found inside dysfunction. So the field doesn't mirror what you want, it mirrors what you are. And if what you are is a system still bracing for impact, still tightening around abandonment, still wired to expect rejection, then every affirmation becomes a whisper behind the scream of your subconscious. This is the heartbreak of modern manifestation culture that no one wants to talk about, that we are telling people to think better while their body is still stuck in memories that made them feel unworthy to receive. And that's not healing, that's performance. And the field knows the difference every time. So before you blame your vision board or your effort or the universe, ask yourself what version of you your body still believes is real. Is it the one that gets chosen or the one that gets overlooked? Is it the one that feels safe in love or the one that expects to be left again? Because that's the version you're sending out, and that's the one the quantum keeps responding to. Because your thoughts don't create reality. Your wounds do. You speak your desires like spells, but the field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your wiring, and that wiring lives in your body, not your mind, not your affirmations, not your intentions, but in the silent codes you've carried since before you had language. You say, "I want love," but your body flinches when someone gets close. You say, "I want abundance," but your stomach tightens when you receive support. You say, "I want peace," but your nervous system doesn't know how to exist without a little bit of chaos in the background. And that's not your fault, but it is your frequency. We were raised in homes where silence meant punishment or unpredictability, where being seen was dangerous, where softness had consequences. And even though we grew up, even though we read the books and wrote the intentions and healed a little, our system still remembers the rules it learned to survive. And those rules became the source code, the invisible operating system behind every decision, every attraction, every repeated timeline. This is why people say they want different, but always choose the same partner with a new face, the same job with a new title, the same chaos in a different form, because the body doesn't follow your words, it follows your wiring, and unless that wiring is repatterned, you will keep looping back to the version of reality your system believes is safe. And safe doesn't mean good. Safe just means known. And the known for many of us is pressure, is urgency, is being needed, but never truly seen, is earning love through doing, is withholding rest, because rest used to mean danger. So we perform worthwhile, holding fear in the tissue of our chest. We speak desires while bracing for disappointment. We try to create a new life, while dragging the echo of every unmet need behind us, and the field can hear that echo. It reads it louder than your vision board, clearer than your intentions, because the field is not logical, it is relational. It feels you before it hears you, and it responds to the part of you that you try to hide. This is the architecture. No one teaches you that the conscious mind might want change, but the body was wired for survival, and survival always wins until safety is rewired from the inside. So no matter how many quantum techniques you learn, no matter how spiritual you become, if your source code still says, "I'm not safe unless I struggle," then your manifestations will be shaped like struggle. They will come with pressure. They will arrive with panic. They will confirm your fear, because the field is not punishing you, it is revealing you. The subconscious isn't some dark force holding you back. It's a wounded child trying to protect you, and it only knows what you've given it over and over again. So ask yourself, what has my system been taught to call normal? What pain have I called love? What urgency have I confused with purpose? What silence have I mistaken for rejection? Because until that source code is rewritten, you're not manifesting a future, you're recycling the past. And the quantum field will keep looping that story until you step into the code itself and choose to rewire it. Not with thought, but with sensation. Not with logic, but with love. Not with forcing, but with listening. Because the truth is, your mind may speak your desires, but your nervous system sends the signal. You keep asking why your reality doesn't change, why the same patterns return in different clothes, why you attract love that leaves or success that collapses or peace that never stays. And the answer is simple but devastating. Your life keeps mirroring the wound you haven't felt, because your wound is not just a memory, it's a frequency, and the quantum field doesn't care if it happened when you were 6 or 16. Or yesterday, it only cares that you're still carrying it. And if you're still carrying it, you're still broadcasting it. You want deep connection, but your heart learned to protect itself, so it sends out a signal of distance. You want freedom, but your nervous system was wired to equate safety with control, so it attracts constraints. You want recognition, but your inner child still believes being invisible is safer than being judged, so the spotlight never lands. Every time you push down the ache, every time you numb the grief, every time you tell yourself you should be over it, you trap that emotion inside your field, and that trapped emotion becomes your default broadcast, not because you're broken, but because your body is loyal. It remembers the wound, so it keeps choosing the familiar. And this is where most people get stuck. They try to manifest from the mind, while their body is still holding a frequency of abandonment, of guilt, of betrayal, of not being enough. And then they wonder why they keep manifesting people who leave opportunities that slip through chaos that makes no sense, but it makes perfect sense to the field. Because the field is honest, it amplifies what's there, not what you pretend, not what you say, not what you hope, but what you hold. Your unhealed memories become magnets. Your suppressed grief becomes gravity. Your unfelt fear becomes a loop, and the field cannot override what you've normalized until you feel what you've been avoiding. This is not about blame, this is about awareness. Because when you realize that every unmet need, every heartbreak, every moment you had to become smaller to be loved, still lives in your system, you can stop performing and start reprogramming. You can stop begging the field to save you and start showing up as someone who can hold the frequency of what you want without collapsing into who you used to be. But to do that, you must meet the wound, not bypass it, not decorate it, not rename it, but meet it, hold it, breathe with it, feel the anger, the sadness, the shame without losing yourself inside it, because what you feel fully no longer controls you. This is why healing isn't optional in quantum manifestation, because until your wound transforms, your frequency will remain loyal to it, and the field will continue to echo it. So the next time your reality triggers you, the next time someone says something that cuts deeper than it should, or life feels like it's repeating itself again, pause and ask yourself, not what am I doing wrong, but what is this pain trying to teach me? What part of me still believes this pattern is love? This chaos is home. This lack is normal. Because when you trace it back to the wound, you find the doorway to change. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you're still holding in your field, and your wound will keep being your frequency until you finally set it free. You've been told, just think positive, just raise your vibration, Just speak it into existence and the universe will deliver. But no one told you what happens when you smile while your body is screaming, when you visualize light while your nervous system is drowning in darkness, when you say I am worthy while your cells still carry the memory of every time you were told you're not. This is the lie that keeps you stuck. The shiny bypass dressed up as spiritual wisdom, the illusion that thoughts create reality when it's not your thoughts but your frequency that the quantum field responds to, and your frequency isn't determined by the words you say, it's shaped by the wounds you haven't touched. You can chant love and light every day, but if your inner child is still frozen in the moment, it wasn't chosen. If your heart is still bracing for the betrayal it never saw coming, if your body still tightens at the thought of being fully seen, the field won't hear your words, it will hear your fear. And this is why so many give up on manifestation, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because they're taught to override their truth with positivity instead of facing the pain that's actually running the show. You say you're abundant, but you're terrified of having more. Because more means more to lose, more to manage, more ways to fail. You say you're ready for love, but your nervous system equates intimacy with danger and keeps choosing distance as protection. You say you're at peace, but your body is stuck in hypervigilance, scanning every room for the next threat, the next wound, the next rejection, and the field reads all of it. Not your goals, not your affirmations, not your vision board, but your baseline, your breath, your beliefs about what's safe, what's possible, what's familiar. So here's the truth. No one wants to hear. Positive thinking is a surface bandage for a frequency wound. It's not bad, it's just not enough. Because if positivity becomes a mask you wear to avoid the rage, the grief, the heartbreak, then what you manifest won't be peace. It'll be pressure. It'll be a performance. It'll be a reality built on suppression. And the field will keep mirroring that suppression back to you in louder ways until you listen. The goal isn't to silence the pain with a mantra. It's to meet the pain with presence, to stop forcing joy and start feeling what's real. To stop chasing high vibrations and start restoring coherence. Because coherence is not perfection, it's honesty. It's when your thoughts, your emotions, and your body speak the same language, and that language is what the quantum field hears. That alignment is what creates change. Not because it looks good, but because it's true. So if you've been stuck in the trap of just think positive and feel good vibes only and manifest from your mind while ignoring the body, this is your invitation to return to what's real, to honor the full spectrum, to know that light without shadow is hollow, and that the most magnetic energy is the one that's congruent, because the field doesn't reward performance, it reflects coherence, and coherence only begins when you stop pretending. There comes a moment when you realize the breakthrough isn't in getting what you want, it's in becoming someone who no longer abandons themselves to get it. Someone who doesn't outsource stability to outcomes or wait for the world to calm down so they can finally feel safe inside. This is what it means to become the regulator, not of the universe, but of your own inner weather. Because here's the truth, you were never taught how to hold your own chaos, how to sit with the ache without numbing it, how to breathe through fear without letting it choose for you, how to stay present when everything inside wants to run or collapse or disappear. So you cope, you scroll, you please, you perform, you manifest harder, trying to fix an inner state by rearranging outer pieces, but the field doesn't change until you do, and you don't change through control, you change through coherence. And coherence starts when you stop waiting to feel safe and start becoming the one who creates safety in real time. Not with logic, but with presence. You see, the nervous system doesn't speak words, it speaks sensation, and for most of your life, it's been repeating the same loop over and over, bracing for impact even when no threat is there, avoiding intimacy because it feels like danger shutting down joy, because joy has never felt safe. And until you become aware of those patterns, you'll keep repeating them, not because you're broken, but because your system is still trying to protect you in outdated ways, so you regulate. Not by suppressing, but by listening. You feel the tightening in your chest, and you stay. You feel the urge to run, and you breathe. You feel the flood of old memories, and instead of drowning, you anchor deeper. This is the work no one sees. The unglamorous alchemy of meeting your body where it is, and choosing not to abandon it again, because your nervous system isn't a problem to fix, it's a language to learn. And when you learn it, you begin to shift the signal you send. And when the signal shifts, the field responds. That's when synchronicities return. That's when clarity drops in. That's when reality starts to reflect the inner coherence you've earned. So if you're waiting for the next big thing, the next technique, the next breakthrough, pause and ask, have you learned how to be with yourself in the silence? Have you practiced staying instead of escaping? Have you become a safe place for your own energy to land? Because the most powerful frequency isn't hype, it's nervous system, regulation, and the ones who shift timelines are not the loudest, they're the ones who learn to stay inside their own storm without breaking. There's a moment when you realize words are not enough, and thoughts are not the medicine. And insight isn't transformation unless it touches the body, unless it becomes movement in your bones, truth in your breath, alignment in your actions, because embodiment is the correction. It's not how much you know, it's how much you live. And right now, most people are overflowing with information and starving for integration, saying all the right things, but living in survival modes, knowing about healing, but still outsourcing their power to someone else, affirming abundance while feeling unsafe to receive it. This is where the distortion begins, because the field doesn't translate your words, it mirrors your embodiment. It doesn't echo what you believe in theory. It responds to who you become under pressure in private, when no one is watching, when the old wound gets triggered and you no longer betray yourself to stay loved. That's embodiment. It's when you stop performing for the future and start living from it. It's when your boundaries aren't rigid, they're sacred. When your choices aren't for approval, they're for alignment. When your energy doesn't beg to be understood, it becomes the frequency that rewrites the room. And you don't get there by force. You get there by practice. Tiny sacred repetitions of truth inside your nervous system, pausing before reacting, breathing instead of collapsing, choosing love even when fear screams louder. You get there when you stop chasing a reality and start behaving like it's already yours. Not to trick the field, but to train your system that safety can exist. Now, joy can exist. Now, power can be reclaimed in this moment, not in some distant timeline where everything looks perfect, but in the present, where everything is messy and real and alive. Because embodiment isn't perfection, it's congruence. It's when what you feel, and what you do finally agree, and the field hears that agreement, it hears your coherence, and it begins to shift, not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. So ask yourself right now, not what do I want to manifest, but what do I want to become in the face of my old patterns? What would it look like to live from that place before anything changes outside? What would shift if you trusted your system to hold a new frequency without abandoning the old one? Because the truth is, you don't need more affirmations, you need more embodiment. You don't need more steps, you need more stillness. You don't need to perform the frequency, you need to be the frequency. And when you are, the field corrects itself. Every time. We all think we're manifesting what we desire, but what we're really manifesting is what our nervous system has been trained to feel safe with. And for most people, that's not love or peace or joy. It's struggle, chaos, and being unseen. Because when you grow up in a world where love meant walking on eggshells, or silence meant punishment or success was always out of reach, your body wires itself for survival, not for receiving. And then years later, you wonder why peace feels boring, why love feels suspicious, why abundance feels uncomfortable, and why the life you say you want keeps slipping through your fingers. But the truth is, it's not slipping. It's being rejected by a system that doesn't recognize it as safe. Because safety is not about comfort, it's about familiarity, and your system would rather return to the hell it knows than risk the unknown of healing. This is why people keep attracting emotionally unavailable partners and sabotaging every opportunity and saying they want freedom while clinging to what hurts, because somewhere in their body, chaos still feels like home pain, still feels like proof of love, and effort still feels like worthiness. And this isn't your fault, it's your imprint, but it becomes your responsibility the moment you see it. Because you can't affirm your way out of a pattern your body still finds refuge in. You have to rewrite the story of what safety means. You have to teach your nervous system that calm is not dangerous, that being seen is not a threat, that resting is not laziness, that letting go doesn't mean you'll be abandoned again, and this doesn't happen through force. It happens through tenderness. It happens when you pause and breathe through the moment you'd normally run. It happens when you let the tears come without shame, when you let your anger speak without destroying yourself in the process, when you sit with the part of you that's always been afraid and you don't try to fix her, you just hold her. That's how safety rewires. That's how the frequency shifts. Not with more effort, but with more presence. Because the field responds to safety more than desire. It mirrors the energy your body trusts, not the one your mind chases. So if your system still equates love with pain, it will reject real connection. If it equates peace with boredom, it will create problems. If it equates joy with a pending loss, it will numb everything good before it even arrives. This is why quantum manifestation isn't about want, it's about welcome. It's about what your system is ready to hold without collapsing. So ask yourself right now, what does your body still think is safe? What does it still brace against when things go well? What does it secretly fear losing the moment it starts to receive? Because that's the edge, and that's the place. The shift begins, not when you think you're ready, but when you become safe enough to hold what you were never allowed to before. That's when the field opens, and what you've been chasing finally begins to chase you back. Most people are trying to manifest a future they haven't emotionally prepared for. They're speaking affirmations in the morning and spiraling into fear by night. They're scripting their dream life on paper while still living from the trauma of who they used to be. And the field reads that misalignment as static. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's coherent. It mirrors your dominant frequency, not your daydreams. You keep reaching for what you want, but vibrating in what you fear. And that creates a split, a fracture in the signal. So no matter how much you try to call in the future, the past keeps showing up first, and you wonder why you loop back into the same toxic cycles, why the love you attract keeps ending in silence, why every opportunity feels like a test. You're failing, but you're not failing. You're just still living in the echo of an old timeline, one that's so familiar, your nervous system doesn't know how to leave, because no one teaches us this. No one tells you that healing isn't just about letting go. It's about becoming safe enough to live differently, to respond from the new you instead of the wounded one, to walk into the future like it already knows your name, to stop making decisions based on who hurt you and start making them based on who you're becoming. You collapse the loop by refusing to repeat the emotional script, by holding the new frequency even when the old one screams louder, by embodying love when your body expects abandonment, by staying grounded when your past tells you to run, by choosing calm when chaos comes knocking, and letting your body feel safe in that new choice. Again and again, until the future stops feeling like a fantasy and starts feeling like home. Because the field doesn't wait for proof. It moves at the speed of alignment. The moment your body believes the future is now, the loop collapses. The past loses its grip and time bends. You don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to force or prove or hustle. You just have to live as if the life you're calling in is already here, and your system will follow. The field will follow. Reality will shape around the version of you that chose to feel safe in the future before it arrived. So pause, breathe. Ask yourself, who would I be if I trusted what's coming more than I feared what's gone? How would I speak? How would I move? How would I rest? What would I no longer tolerate? And what would I finally allow? That's the version the field is listening for, not the version you post about, but the one you embody in silence, in stillness, in the dark. That's how you shift timelines. That's how you collapse the loop. You stop chasing the future and start becoming the frequency of what you already are underneath, all the noise. And in that stillness, the future doesn't just arrive, it remembers you.